Hey everybody, welcome back to the Husker Big Red YouTube channel. I'm Chris Peterson, and with me as always is my co-host Danny Gillette, and it's game day. We are about, let's see on my math, about 7 hours away from kickoff between the Nebraska Cornhuskers and the Michigan Wolverines. The second-ranked Wolverines are coming into Lincoln Memorial Stadium today, but Danny, it's game day. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I always do well on game day. I'm just excited. I think it's going to be a really fun game, and as we're going to break down here in a little bit, I think it might be more of a game than some anticipate.
I definitely think it's going to be more of a game than some anticipate. The line, at least the last time I checked, it's sitting at 17 and a half points or so in favor of Michigan. And I think that's definitely a spread Nebraska can cover. This is a team, you look at Rutgers last week, gave Michigan a little bit of a game. 31-7 was the final score, but Rutgers scored the opening drive in that game, and it was seven. They were down 17-7 midway through the third quarter. They drove and were in field goal range, and Greg Schiano, instead of kicking a field goal, attempted to go for it. It was like 4th and 3 and pick six. Michigan went the other way with it, 24-7. So I mean, if that one play, if Rutgers just takes the field goal, they go into that game down 17-10, or go into the fourth quarter down 17-10. And I think Nebraska can play a similar type of football. It would be nice if we could get a 60-some yard touchdown. That's going to be the key, is how does this Nebraska team get points on the board?
Well, for me, I want them to just drain the clock, run the ball, and you mentioned something in our last show. I believe Michigan had 7 total offensive possessions. You said, and so it might be a game of just hey, welcome everybody. Thank you for tuning in. I know it's been a little bit, but now we're back on schedule. But anyway, it might be just a game of possession. Who can make the most out of each possession, and on that end, they need to run the football and drain the clock. And those two things aren't mutually exclusive. If they can get some quick passes going and just move the chains slowly, and I don't want this to be a shootout because Michigan can easily go down the field with a one play, 87-yard touchdown throw, and I don't want that for Nebraska. I want a slow game. They need to run the football, and for goodness sake, Marcus Satterfeld, run the ball all the way through the game. None of this passing, none of this spread offense, Mark Whipple type stuff. Run the ball and play the strengths of your quarterback. And I'm just really interested to see how they start this game because last weekend was a slow start. They can't afford that here.
No, and kind of the last 2 weeks have been a bit of a slow start offensively. Like, where's the run the damn ball guy? Like, we need him calling the plays because it's worked in the second half, especially like I formation. They've gone to more of that. The past couple of weeks. Like, don't wait on that. Come out and do that right away because this Michigan defense is legit. And the offense hasn't been quite as good. Michigan's only rushed for over 200 yards once. Like last week against Rutgers was the first time they've done it. So their offensive line isn't quite the Joe Moore award-winning. I mean, the talent's there. It doesn't have quite that cohesion yet. So, um, you
Sounds
know,
familiar.
yeah, right. It does have, but this Michigan defense, back to my point, like these guys are legit. Like Ernest Hausmann would probably be our best defender, and he doesn't
Yep.
even start. I mean, he plays a lot. Let's not act like he doesn't play a lot, but he's not like when they introduced the starting lineups, like Ernest Hausmann's not coming out there, and that's like insane because he'd be our best defender.
Yeah.
He would literally be our best defender, and we should have said, yeah, everybody, it's glad to be back. Sorry we missed. Last weekend I was in Green Bay, and it's been kind of a crazy schedule the past couple of weeks, but we're going to
Yeah.
be back on track here. And hopefully, man, like this game, I feel like is such a big opportunity for Nebraska. It's not, if they lose, like as long as it's not ugly, like Oklahoma last year, ugly, as long as it's not like
Oh
that,
yeah.
as long as, and I don't think it is, as long as it's not like that, I really feel like it's kind of a no lose situation because, if you play a competitive game, great. But, if you win, man, like this, like I was saying earlier this week, this probably be the biggest win since, the Eric Crouch catching the touchdown to beat Oklahoma. I just can't think of another one since then. I know there's been a lot of big ones. You had the field goal against Colorado. You had the day where we beat the crap out of Missouri. But, if we could somehow upset the number 2 team in the nation, like, that'd be a monster win.
And let me tell you something else. There is a good amount of players visiting today, I think. Carter Nelson is one of them. Kawan Lacey's in town today. Let me see who else. Danny Kalin's here. Ja'Cory Barney's here.
Corey
Devon
Barney,
Hall's
yep.
here. Yeah. Mario Buford. So point is, a lot of eyes are going to be watching. And, even if Nebraska loses and keeps it close, which could happen, any one of these 11 guys coming to visit today, you can sell to them, you're the missing piece to help us get over the hump, for next year and in the future. And, it's going to be really interesting to see, what these commits take away from the game, because all of the visitors today are committed to Nebraska. Willis McGahee actually came in on Friday, so he's here too. And I think it's going to be a big game in that regard too, just to you know be able to sell what this program is going to look like to these players, even if they're committed. Just allowing them to see where they would fit in for the future is also going to be important here today as well.
Sam CM, or I believe, or Sam I am. If a 2-2 Nebraska beats number 2 Michigan, with all we've
Yeah,
been through the last 5 years, this might be the biggest regular season victory since the game of the century. Yep,
yeah,
that's exactly what I was saying. And just because I feel like whenever you get a new coach, there's always like that win, that breakthrough win that you kind of point to. It's like that's the day when everything sort of really kind of changed. And
yeah.
Nebraska, obviously, that's you're not getting that with Northern Illinois and Louisiana Tech, and it might not happen today, but I just am interested to see, like we're going to find out if this defense really is legitimate. I think it is. I think the black shirts are going to have us in a lot of games, but man, if like you can hold up against this run offense of Michigan and this quarterback, which is pretty good for Michigan, then I think Nebraska can play with anybody, because this is the toughest game on the schedule for sure.
Yeah, and the fact that Luke Reimer is coming back today is also a really good sign. Nebraska's going to need him. As long as he doesn't have any disconcerting signals penalties or whatever the hell that was. But no, in all seriousness, they're going to need him. He's a good run stopper, physical player. On that end, though, if he somehow has to exit the game, I feel confident with Javin Wright and John Bullock. They played well last weekend, so there is depth at the linebacker position. It's just great to see Reimer back, an experienced, grizzled veteran for this type of game. And I'm happy that he's healthy. I don't think that Cameron Leonard is going to play today, although I'm not sure if you heard anything since last night when I checked.
I haven't yet. It looks, I've just seen that he's questionable, but yeah, I would be surprised if it seems like he's kind of been battling that out. So yeah, I don't fully expect him to play, but Luke Reimer is a big addition. And one thing about this Michigan team, Donovan Edwards, the other running back, hasn't got a ton of rushing yards, but he's a great receiver. And so I really am watching for Michigan to test Nebraska, like Luke Reimer and also Javin Wright when they're covering him. So those guys are that's going to kind of be an X factor, because he's a guy who could take a curl, a swing route, like any of those halfback routes, and kind of ruin your day with like a 50-yard touchdown. And so those are the things Nebraska cannot do. Make Michigan earn every bit of it. Don't give up those 40, 50-yard plays. If they can avoid those, I think they can hold Michigan in the 20s. And again, I don't know how Nebraska is going to get there. I mean, trying to envision how they win this game, if maybe like 16-13, 20-17. That's how Nebraska has to win. It's going to be ugly. It's got to be close, low scoring, really quick. That's how I can envision an upset, and probably going to need to take the football away a couple of times.
And let's make no mistake, the home crowd is going to be into it as well. So for those going to the game, if any of you are seeing this, be loud, be rowdy, be ready, because I honestly think that contributed to the good game that we saw when these two teams played in 2021 at home, and what an atmosphere that was. And I agree with Sam. I've always thought he's the most important recruit on to keep on board. We don't have a lot of depth at running back. I mean, we have Josh Fleeks, coming over from the wide receiver position for running back depth purposes, and we really do need Lacey to stay. That is a very thin running back room, and that's not what you want for the Big Ten at all.
And yeah, Kewan Lacey, like you said, taking the visit today, and he's had a really good high school season. His ranking has continued to move up since Nebraska got his commitment, and I totally agree. He's definitely a blue chipper. And I like a lot of the guys that have, Carter Nelson's having a great season. Ja'Cory Barney's doing really well. I know he's I did a post of that at huskerbigred.com, and he's kind of been talking about visits to Arizona and Miami. I'm not super worried about, obviously, he's visited Miami plenty of times, so I'm not overly concerned about that, although that is a place that probably could flip him if there was going to be one. And the Hurricanes are, they are playing a lot better this year under Mario
I was
Cristobal.
gonna say I would honestly be very worried about Miami. The fact that they didn't land him in the first place was shocking to me. And right now they're in the top 25, and I don't think they're gonna slow down anytime soon. Last year they were rebuilding. Now they found their groove, and let's hope Nebraska can follow that same blueprint. But Miami, I think, is definitely a real contender for him now. I mean, they have it going down there at Miami right now, and they shouldn't be slept on as far as Barney's recruitment is concerned.
Yeah, and it seems like they are trying to make a bit of a push, like with the visits and stuff. So it will be interesting to see. I know that Nebraska obviously just took another wide receiver commitment, which I thought was kind of interesting, and Caleb Benning is still out there too, and to me, obviously, he looks like more of a defensive back, a safety,
Yeah.
but it seems like really, I just feel like he would really fit in this defense. When you look at, obviously, you're playing more defensive backs, and I think that's it. I mean, most teams are honestly playing more like 4-2-5, more nickel defense than they are base defense, and that's just, I mean, offenses dictate that anymore, and you're going to see more. You're going to see a lot of tight ends in this game from Nebraska and Michigan, but I mean, more weeks than not, I mean, maybe not in the Big Ten, but in some of these other conferences, like it's four wide all the time, man. And so it's not like a shock to see 5-6 defensive backs on there as like your base defense.
That's a fair. I mean, I think that's a fair statement. I mean, when you look at conference by conference, tight end it gets utilized a lot at in the Big Ten. I mean, when you just look at Iowa, for example, and the fact that Sam Laporta is tearing it up in Detroit, and how they've been able to develop not only Sam Laporta but George Kittle, T.J. Hawkinson. I mean, tight end, if you want to be a successful tight end in the NFL, you go to a Big Ten school right now. And, I think while it's not unique to football, it is unique in how, people, teams and, programs and organizations in the Big Ten utilize the tight end position.
What's funny is as you were talking about Iowa, one thing that hasn't worked out so well for Iowa this year has been Cade McNamara and the quarterback. The offense is not any better for the Iowa Hawkeyes.
Well, it's
So
because they have Brian Ferentz. That's why.
that's true, but it does not pain me at all in the slightest. So I mean, their offense against our defense. I'm kind of looking forward to that matchup after Thanksgiving. So,
I
but
feel like the
anyway,
roles are reversed this year. Like usually we have the bad offense, and now they have the bad offense, and we have the good defense. And usually their defense is nasty against us. So we'll see. I mean, that game in itself could have a lot of implications depending on the win total from here on out. But right now, we just have to focus on Michigan, and there's a lot of eyes on this game. I saw Dave Portnoy and Barstool Sports are actually in Lincoln today, I think. So.
and I know it's not a big noon game, but I mean, I loved the three. Like growing up, I always loved that 2:30 Central Time, 3:30 Eastern window, because you have it. I love the games, when it starts and you've got the sun out, and then like by third quarter you've got like the lights on because it's like dusk, and I just like, I don't know, I love that part of it. So I love this kickoff window, and I think Nebraska fans have always, I could be wrong, but I think this is kind of like a better window for Nebraska people than. I don't think Nebraska fans love that early kickoff game, even though I know,
No,
there's like the big noon kickoff. But
I
I
hate
mean,
it.
I think this Nebraska Michigan game, like like this game is going to, in terms of TV ratings, I think it's going to do probably almost as well as the USC Colorado game. Like it wouldn't shock me.
And that's a game I'm going to be watching too. I mean, I'm going to be seeing how they do, and it's a good game. It's a good slate of games. We've gotten some really good games early on, and I mean, this Nebraska game I think is going to be a good one as well. I really do, and I know Memorial Stadium will be rocking, and the fans will be excited. So it's going to be a fun one. I really do. I really believe that, and Chris is probably going to put on his Michigan gear after this podcast is over and switch alliances, but I will not. Fear not. I have my alma mater on today, but that's about it. And so, what are your score
It's
predictions? Let's start with those.
It's tough. Well, I got to explain. So my
Okay.
mom's from Detroit. That's why I'm a Michigan fan.
Okay.
So my grandpa actually is a Lions fan, even though, that's so I am a Lions fan, even though I don't talk about it much because, it's just been such a pain. But they had a game on Thanksgiving. It's family legend. The Bears, when they ran back the touchdown in overtime, and he like chucked the TV just right out the front door. My grandpa. So that's where I probably get my cool temperament from on game day. And then I lived in Hastings, Nebraska for 4 years, so I do get asked that a lot. And so when I liked both teams, they weren't in the same conference at all. It was never. So yeah. So today, games like today are really weird for me because I do really love both teams and want them both to do well. So it's just kind of a weird. I just kind of watch the game as like a cat, a non like I cheer for each. It's just so weird because it's like every play is like good one way or the other, but can be bad one way or the other
So
too.
wait,
So
you're a Nebraska Michigan fan and a Lions Packers fan?
yeah, I mean I always cheer for the Packers
What
over
is
the
going on?
Lions.
What is going on over here? There
Yeah, I
is
know
no
it's a weird hierarchy of football. Yeah, I know it's
that would
weird.
be like me saying like I'm a Patriots and a Jets fan, but I'm also a Red Sox and a Yankees fan. Like what is going on?
But
Absolutely not.
I mean, yeah. See, well, you could say that. I mean, it might be different when the Lions get better, but they just were like not relevant. I mean, so it wasn't like from a Packers fan perspective, like the rivals are the Vikings number one and the Bears. Like so, it's never been like it's always like the Packers. I always love the Packers over the Lions. Whereas Michigan, Nebraska, it really is like a 50. Like I can't even like either whatever happens today, I'll be happy no matter who wins. But like it's just a weird. It's a weird deal. So how I look at it, like from a Michigan perspective, if they were happen to lose a game this year, like if this is the game I would want them to lose to Nebraska, right? Like so, if Nebraska does pull the upset, like I'd be super happy. If not, I'll be happy if they don't. But I don't want Nebraska to get. I don't want it to be a blowout. I'll say that. I want both teams to play well and it to be like the game 2 years ago. Like it's still like it's weird because it feels good from a Michigan perspective, but I still like I have the pain from like that Adrian Martinez fumble like still
Ugh,
makes me, you know what I mean? So that's where it's like
yeah.
I don't know how to explain it, how to have my rooting interest, but I'm truly it is a split heart, 100%.
Honestly, the Lions just wait until the Lions are good again. They might be getting there pretty soon.
They're
And
freaking
right
good,
now,
dude.
yeah,
They
they
think
are.
honestly they might be the best team in the NFL. I'm just gonna say like
Yeah.
I'm not saying that just because they kicked the crap out of the Packers. Like I was 100% like all like it's all Packers when they play the Lions, but like Aiden, I mean that and Green Bay, like their offensive line was not like at full strength, but
No.
that defensive front, like oh my god, is just I don't know how you cannot block Aiden Hutchinson, and then the rest of that defense, like they're pretty good, and then that offense is just like like Jared Goff is playing like number one pick Jared Goff.
He is, and it also helps when you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is pretty good
But
in his own right. So
just weapons everywhere. I mean, the running back they got, the tight end Laporte. I mean, like you look at two of their best offensive players are the rookie running back and the rookie tight ends, and Amon-Ra St. Brown is only like in his third year. So I mean, it really shows that you can find talent quickly, and it doesn't take long to turn things around. That's the same with college football too. You find a freshman or two, or some guy a transfer. I mean, it just when you get that player, it can change things quickly. And that's the thing. Like Michigan State, for all the transfers, they had a lot of great transfers, but what they really did, they got not Mel Tucker, excuse me, the running back Kareem Walker. That's the guy that really changed things. It wasn't that they got 20 transfers. Okay, they landed one transfer that was a true difference maker, and that
and
really
Kenneth
is
Walker is making an impact in Seattle too. So he's not
yeah.
just a flash in the pan.
Kenneth Walker. I don't know who the hell Kareem Walker is. Kenneth Walker.
Oh, good. It's early.
But yeah, I'm famous for doing that. But anyways, back to this Michigan game, just to give you a little background on myself. But make sure that you guys do get into the chat. If you got questions, we're here. We want any of you guys. If it's recruiting, if it's about this game, anything Nebraska. We pulled off another big win in volleyball last night. Purdue actually won the first set and got a little hope, and then we came back and beat them. So sorry, Purdue. But I
Basketball
really
started last night too.
I know, man, and it's interesting. Andy Katz with that came out with a thing about Casey is he's the best shooter, and reading Robin Washut from Husker Online his update like about K, like he made it seem like Casey is really carrying himself like a dude, and I think I'm like I can't tell you how excited I am to watch this Nebraska basketball team. Like I am so excited for these guys to play.
And I don't think Casey knows that the future of Fred Hoiberg and the entire program itself rests on his rests on his shooting touch. I mean, boy, Casey's just out here having fun playing ball. Meanwhile, we like need him to be an all-star type of player. And no, but all joking aside, I'm really excited to see him. And I think this team, like we talked about before, this team as a whole may be the most complete team that Fred Hoiberg has had at Nebraska. So it's now or never, in my opinion.
It really is. I mean, I feel like Jamarcus Lawrence, I'm really excited to see
Yeah,
his growth on both ends. I mean, really an offensive creator, but, his defense, I think, is really solid. And that's where I think like he's going to make his biggest impact this year. But, a guy like Bryce Williams, too, another solid two-way player, rink mass. I just, Juwan Gary coming back. There's just a lot of really good pieces. Fred feels just more, just confident, like just cool and confident. Like he just feels like a different coach. And I don't know what it was last year where it clicked, but he just really he became the guy that we thought he was going to be. And the defensive side of things helped, but I just saw him, like he was just scheming up things offensively. And it just seemed like really in a way, I feel like almost K-Say kind of giving him, kind of this new offensive weapon. Just it felt like it just
yeah.
kind of reinvigorated him a little bit.
Well, that's what happens when you play all the players on your bench, Fred. But anyway, um,
It's like why was he sitting there for so long?
but also I think it helps when you have an athletic director like Trev Alberts not making any like rash decisions and coming out and supporting you, and that helps too. Because quite honestly, there's been a lot of turnover at Nebraska over the last couple of years, and I think having the support of Trev Alberts was also a big factor as well. I mean, it always helps that, you have your boss, behind you for support.
I just missed this earlier with Sam calling out the shout out for Corey Schlesinger, one of the great Nebraska fullbacks of all time, and truly was. He really did a great job at Detroit for a long time. So shout out for that, Sam. He was a fun one to watch. And Nebraska does have a lot of really, speaking of NFL players, I really enjoyed watching Cam Jurgens for the Eagles, man. If you like
Yeah.
offensive line play, like anytime you can watch that, like he just blows people off the ball. It's really fun to watch, and he's going to be definitely, in my opinion, like going to the Pro Bowl very soon. In terms of Cam Jurgens, he's big time player for Nebraska. We need more. We need more guys like that. But that was one good one that we've had here in the recent memory for Cornhuskers.
Well, and the crazy part of it is that he was not originally a center.
Yeah, I
He
know.
was a
Well,
tight
he's
end.
he's been playing guard too now for.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna they're gonna move him over there when Kelsey finally retires. But it's funny how that works out sometimes.
I love to watch Jason Kelsey. Honestly, I love offensive line
Oh
play,
man, he's good.
and yeah, he's great. And I just remember talking about the fullback. The first one I remember is John Kuhn, and he was always fun to watch because he always used to get down and dirty and block and play well. And on that note, kind of people have been asking, where have the fullbacks been? We've heard so much about the fullback for Nebraska. Where have they been? Last weekend, I thought they did a really good job blocking. I don't know if you were able to see, you know, all of the plays, Chris, but they did a really good job blocking in the running game. And although they didn't score touchdowns or make many receptions or anything like that, they've been able to find their role in their offense as blockers. So they are on the field, they are present, and they are making an impact.
What's interesting is the guys that play fullback on our roster. They honestly have some of the most difficult names to pronounce. So, that's for some reason I don't know why. Like to be a fullback, a lot of time you have to have a name like Schlesinger, or anyway, Liebentritt, from Bear, but anyways, like we have started to see these guys the past couple of weeks in the I formation. You've mentioned it too. In both games, they've come out in the second half and they've really, it's been like Matt Rule. It seems like Matt Rule's like, hey, run the damn ball. Like
Yeah,
it's
it's
that.
like, where has this been? Like, come on.
So please start with that. And I've always like some running backs, not every running back, but some running backs just do better with a lead blocker. And whether it's out of the I formation or it's that offset I or it's a tight end motioning over, just like being able to take out that first guy that kind of shoots through that gap. Because
That's Durant.
so many teams do that run, they don't even play gap response. They'll just like run blitz you, and they're just blitzing a guy up there. And so you sometimes need a guy to meet that guy in the hole, and then that can give your back just a chance to make a cut. And yeah, when that guy's there in the hole, it can be, I mean, how many times, did we see Anthony Grant make a guy miss? But the first guy that was meeting him was at 0 yards, and so he only got like a yard or two. If you can make it so you're not meeting a guy for that first yard, it just makes such a huge difference for your running back. And it's still not easy. That fullback, still needs to make a good block, but I saw some really good execution out of the I formation last week.
And Grant is really hard to stop once he gets to the second level. He's a really good second level runner. So as long as he can get there, I feel confident. I posted the 2-play sequence of one of his touchdown against Louisiana Tech, and just his explosiveness and his ability to get to the outside on that run, and then the subsequent touchdown. I mean, that looked like the Anthony Grant of old. That really did, and it's interesting how these unfortunate running back injuries have allowed him to kind of find his groove again.
I was just going to say, I think what it is, it's just a confidence thing, like with,
Yeah.
not that, I think the thing with him that he doesn't have to worry about is like, oh, if I fumble the ball one time, like I'm out of the game. Like, no, like you're probably going to get reprimanded, but like you're the guy right now. You're still the most talented, most experienced guy we have on this roster. So like the ball is yours. I mean, unless you're, like, I don't even want to talk about it, but unless you get like fumbleitis where you're fumbling, like coughing it up constantly, like you're going to be the guy. And I think that in some ways has just helped him kind of settle in and just, it's nice to not have that, looking over your shoulder, I guess.
Yeah.
In any job, it's not easy to do, knowing like one mistake is going to, really kind of get you in trouble, or, you know what I mean? If you're trying to, keep your job performance up, that can be a tough kind of expectation to meet.
Well, and also don't forget. Well, how could we forget? But that Minnesota fumble probably didn't make anybody feel good, him included. So he probably he probably wasn't sure, where he sat in the running back room initially, but now he has it. It's his job, and he really stepped up on Saturday. Last
Man,
Saturday.
I was in such a good mood this morning. Then you had to
I
bring up
know,
that
I
fumble. No,
know.
I'm just kidding.
And
But we
then I
would
brought up
be.
the Packers, and I know.
You did. Yeah. Come on, man. Come on. No, I'm just kidding. The thing about the Packers is like, everybody is like freaking out. And this is they're the youngest team in the league. They got a young quarterback. Like you're going to have some shit performances. And I think we should have expected that with Nebraska too. Like, like I said, I totally freaked out the first 2 weeks because, like I just am like one of those irrational, like fan people, like that's why they say fan is from fanatic. Like you can't expect a fan to be always rational, and I get totally irrational on game days. But I love the way that Nebraska is playing under Matt Rule. I mean, if you would have told me, like, I think anybody, if you would have told any Nebraska fan in the middle of the season after 4 games, Nebraska would be leading the Big Ten in rushing yards per game and rushing yards allowed per game, like that there's nothing else. That's like the dream. That is the dream right now. That's how you want to play football, and we haven't done that in such a long time, and it's just been so fun. I guess that's my biggest takeaway, that, out of everything that's happened in this first month of the season, like I actually enjoy watching Nebraska play defense. And I can't remember the last time I said that. Certainly not during the Scott Frost era very
Yeah,
much.
not at all. And I'll tell you something else I love watching. Heinrich Haarberg turning on the Jets as soon as he gets in the open field. Man, he's fast. I didn't realize
Yep.
how fast he was, but I mean, he could fly.
I thought it was so like perfect that he busted out that long touchdown run with Taylor Martinez in the house. He's not team magic. He's not that fast, but he definitely, brought back some good memories with that touchdown run. And I really hope we can see him do that again today. Like you've said it. I mean, he's got to be starting today. I mean, I wouldn't shock me if we saw Jeff Sims, if it turned into more of like maybe they really have to throw the ball kind of game. Cause I'm just not sure how well Heinrich would do in that type
Well,
of, you know what I mean? Where it's like third and 8 every time, you know what I'm saying?
I
Like
don't
that
trust
type of,
Sims to throw either.
well,
I
I
mean,
don't
honestly.
either. I don't, I 100% know I 100% know what you're talking about. And I just think like I can understand what the coaches are saying from a talent perspective.
Yeah.
Like I know that he can push the ball a little bit farther, but that's the thing is like, who's to say with Harburg, like, with Michigan, I don't think like getting a couple yards and like if it's 3rd and 5, like that's okay. Like it's okay to
Yeah.
run a couple times and punt. Like you trust this defense. Like this defense, I really believe is going to keep us in almost every single game. Like, that Colorado game, like, yeah, it got away from us a little bit, but that was mostly because of the turnovers. That had nothing to do really with the defense, except that they wore down a little bit. And frankly, you know what? Like, when you play a guy like Shadur Sanders, like, they're gonna score points on you. Like,
Yeah,
that's
he's a
just
good quarterback. I
football
mean,
anymore. Yeah, like, it's if you hold most teams under 20, like, you're gonna have a pretty damn good chance of winning. And honestly, like, even in college football, if you hold the opposing team under 20, like, you won the day on as far as the defense is concerned.
oh, 100%. And I think also too, when you look at the way that they've been able to move the football. It's been a lot of times because of the tight end position in the red zone. So that's a position I'm going to be watching today as well. I mean, Thomas Fidone is quietly having a decent start to the season. I think he has 4 touchdowns already. So I think he's going to be a big X factor in today's game as well because for whatever reason, when you're a new quarterback or you didn't start the season and you're looking to find some sort of rhythm. I think Harburg has that with Fedoni. I mean, it's been very clear that they've been on the same page and you know they've been able to complement each other really well and they've done a nice job together.
And he's definitely a guy that Nebraska needed to get going. Him and Billy Kemp, and
Yeah.
for Harburg has been able to connect with him too. Marcus Washington had a couple of nice receptions, and I mean, yeah, it would be nice, obviously, to see Malachi Coleman or Jaden Doss, like one of these freshmen, finally step up and emerge. But and that might just not happen this year. It is tough to. I do think we're going to see Malachi Coleman at some point. I would just like throw the ball up to him. I know you can't just turn the football over. Like, I mean, obviously get like some play action, like a deep post, something, but it would be nice to see him at least threaten the defense a little bit with that speed, because even though we haven't shown it, like, this roster does have guys that can take the top off of the defense.
Don't give Marcus Satterfield any ideas, please. Let's try to drill it into his head that he needs to run the football.
Pound the rock, man. Pound the rock.
Because next thing you know, he'll be trying to throw deep passes all game. But no,
I
I
definitely
think
don't want to see the Mark Whipple, like 13-second position. Like, let's bomb it deep 3 times and see how little time we can take off
that's what
before we punt.
Satterfield did, like in the first half, and then
I know.
Rule must have chewed him out or whatever. But also, I mean, you
I can
mentioned
I could see that's the thing about Rule is, like, he seems like the nicest guy in the world, but he'll chew
yeah,
your ass off. Like, I
yeah.
would not see him hesitating, like lighting into a, like, I would not want to be on some of those coaches' communications. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, yeah, and like you could definitely tell. I'm like, oh, Rule must have said something to Satterfield
yeah,
because now they're running the ball a lot. But also, you mentioned the impact freshman. Jalen Lloyd is another name that
yeah.
I would put out there as well. And even Emmett Johnson 2 carries for 6 yards, but he was able to get some playing time and you know really kind of hoping that that's something he can build off of because quite frankly, we might need him next year and
I
even
think we're
more
gonna need
so
him.
with
I think we're
yeah.
gonna need him this year.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
honestly, yeah.
at some point, Anthony Grant, just he can't take. I mean, we can't give him the ball. Like, and not that we've given him the ball that much. Like, Harburg's taken a lot of that toll, but at some point, like, he's gonna have to step up. And Johnson, just he can be a really exciting player. Receiving the ball. With his, we've seen flashes of it. We've heard talk about it. So I just want to see it. But
Do
honestly,
you think
he's
we
one
see
of.
Quentin Ives at any point this year?
I do, honestly. I do. Yeah. I mean, it just I've heard, he might be one of those guys that, his red shirt doesn't get burnt. He doesn't necessarily maybe play 4 plays or 4 games. Like, we'll have to see how that goes. But it wouldn't shock me, if he started getting into it. Some guys, like, even though they're not, sometimes they don't have like the playbook all the way down, or it's not all there, but just like give them the ball in a game situation and they'll just like find a way to make something happen. You know what I mean? And I feel like he might be one of those players that doesn't always look perfect, and maybe it's not like, yeah, he's not the guy that always looks like the 4-star recruit, but just give him the football, and he just has the instincts to make a play. And that's how some guys are. There's a lot of guys that are like that. They just have that natural ability. And that's the thing. Like, I know it sounds really, but some people, like, they literally are faster when somebody's chasing them. So when you give them a football and somebody's chasing them, like, they're faster and better in game situations. And I feel like Quentin Ives might be that kind of guy where he just gets in a game and kind of surprises us a little bit.
And you talk about taking the load off Anthony Grant. I mean, not that he's been bad by any means. He's been a huge chunk of our offense, but I'd kind of like to see the load taken off of Harburg in the running department as well. I mean, he had 19 carries on Saturday, 21 the week before, and that's definitely that doesn't seem like a lot, but some of the hits I saw him take, I was kind of like, maybe we should kind of run this with the running backs a little bit. Now, are you going to take away your explosive weapon and not utilize him at all? Absolutely not. I mean, he was fantastic. 196 yards on the ground last Saturday, but I mean, I just see him take these hits, and I'm like, I don't know.
Well, yeah, I did see him talk a little bit about, pitching the ball, which I don't, sometimes when you pitch the ball, you get lit up. So, I mean, I don't know if that's going to be, you know what I mean? Like you kind of put yourself in a position where you just throw it too. I mean, I've
Yeah,
seen Nebraska fans have seen a lot of option football over the years, and we know like our quarterbacks get lit up in a few of those pitch plays. So
they
I don't
do.
know if that's going to help, but I think that is a point that is fair to make. It's I think Nebraska's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place because it's like that is what's working, and you want to go with what's working, but you do want to try to limit those quarterback hits as much as you can. So
Well, I
it's
mean,
I don't know. I definitely, but yeah, I don't. He can't run the ball 20 times every game for the rest of the year. That's not going to work.
also Harburg is not a pure stand in the pocket quarterback, so I mean there
Yeah,
is that as well. I mean, but I mean we'll see what happens. It just we are kind of stuck in a rock and a hard place because we haven't really had. When's the last time we had a in the pocket quarterback? You probably remember more than I do.
Zach Taylor maybe. Zach
And that
Taylor's or Joe Gant. Yeah, that would be, or actually, yeah, Joe Gantz probably because Zach Taylor was first, and then probably Joe Gantz would probably be the last one. I would say
and when was that? Oh
that
07?
was like '09. That was
Oh
like
09?
Pelini's. Yeah, Bo
Yeah.
Pelini's like first, second year as the head coach.
Point is, it's been a damn long time since we've had uh stand in the pocket quarterback. But if it's not broken, don't fix it. I just worry about some of the hits that Harburg's taken, and I just hope that is it a sustainable model for the offense the entire season? That I don't know either. My guess is no.
And thing I guess you could say that Casey Thompson's more of a passing quarterback than we've had, but he did play for a lot of the year, so that's probably why we
Well,
didn't think
I
too
also
much of him.
wonder how much Whipple just told him to stay in the pocket and not run at all, and this is my offense, and blah blah blah. Because Whipple's been known to do that
He
too. So
did, and Casey when he came back from it, like I remember, he did run a little bit more. Like I remember the Wisconsin game, he ran a little bit. Not a ton, but just they ran a few plays, and it's like your quarterback, even if he just runs for like two first downs a game, literally one first down a game, like that, those one or two first downs when it's on
yeah,
like a third down, they're huge. So yeah,
he
I
was also
think
running
that
for his life.
true,
There was also the running
true.
for his life yards that were accumulated as well as actual forward progress yards. But speaking
And
of running for his life, I'm very interested to see what the left tackle position is going to look like
yeah, I was gonna
because
say, I do. I like Bryce. I think that Ben Hart has played a lot better this year. I mentioned that on Monday or whenever we did our last chat Thursday. I have no idea what
Thursday.
what day it is anymore, but I feel like he has improved. But man, Turner Corcoran has not. He just has not
No,
gotten any better. And so yeah, I don't know if they're trying to bring Teddy back slowly. I'm not saying that Teddy's going to be like the cure all, and maybe he can't stay healthy, but he is 6'8" or 6'9" or whatever. So I mean, he's got to at least like make it a longer path to get to the quarterback at some point. I don't know. I just
honestly, give me Gunnar Gatula at this point because
try something.
if today goes the way I think it's gonna go, then that's just a free rush for Michigan at Harburg, and that's no good. And look, I don't like to crap all over kids and say oh he sucks and blah blah blah, but it's been 4 years of the same thing for Turner Corcoran, and you're probably to all the people listening and watching, you're probably gonna hear me complain about him a lot today. But it's just not working. It's not working, and I understand the fans' impatience, but I also understand that right now, as it stands today on September 30th, we don't have a lot of viable options there.
And if you get, I mean, I'm not saying that Pro Football Focus and their grades are perfect. I mean, I think that some of their stuff gets, over.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you get a 0 twice in 4 weeks, like
I was
there's a
gonna say he's
problem.
not.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's like, I mean, that's bad, a zero. Like, come on, dude. You didn't even turn your homework in. So, like, it's just, I mean, I just think he's not. And the thing for him too, like if he's ever going to make it as an offensive lineman, he's not going to make it as a left tackle. He's just not. So he needs to try to play guard and salvage something. Because I mean, I thought he was okay last year at guard, and maybe just because they don't feel Gatula's ready, and Teddy's not ready. Like that's the only option they have right now. But like, please get healthy and because Michigan, that's the thing, is like their fourth pass rusher is about as good as they don't have like a Hutchinson this year, but they also have four guys that could all start and be pretty good. So I mean, it's going to be that's going to be the key today. Is like, does Michigan get like 7 sacks and just destroy the offensive line trying to pass the ball like that? That could be the game record.
Well, I'm gonna say yes, honestly, because I don't. There's not a situation that I can
Yeah,
see.
that's why you have to like hope you can run the ball and be smart and not be in those. That's why you have to be in third and under 5 so you can kind of run it and try to, you know what I mean, try to play.
Chuba
Because
Purdy, be ready because Harburg might be a little
yeah,
nicked up today. Yeah,
I mean,
but
yeah, seriously, it's not that's where you do, Chubb. I mean, Harbaugh hasn't thrown any picks, but when you get in when you're like 3rd and 8, and if you're in that situation, that's where those types of plays happen.
honestly, if he throws like 4 interceptions today, I'm not gonna be mad at him. I mean, there is a point where you're gonna have to see it coming, and between the entire Michigan defensive line running in your face and wanting to get the ball out quick, I could see it happening. And obviously, I'm exaggerating, but I just don't see a good day for the offensive line in store. And at what point does it fall on Donovan Raiola?
I think, yeah, to me, I guess the looking back at the whole key for this game, and like Nebraska has to be able to run the football, whether
Yeah,
it's, because if they're not able to run the ball either with their backs or their quarterbacks, it's going to make it that much harder to protect. And if they can't protect, they're going to turn the ball over. I mean, that's just, if a quarterback is under extreme pressure, like he's going to turn the ball over
yeah.
eventually. So, I mean, most of the time anyway. So to me, that's the key is, how close can Nebraska get to that 234, yards that they're averaging every game? Can they get to 100 in this game? Can they get to, because last week, Rutgers was averaging like 225, pretty close to Nebraska, and they got 77 against Michigan. But the difference, though, is Nebraska is much more invested in running the quarterback. Rutgers has Gavin Wimsatt, who can run, but he's more of a passing quarterback that can run. Whereas I would say Heinrich Harburg is like a running quarterback that can pass.
Don't they have Noah Vidral too, or is that
He might have.
Rutgers?
I don't
Oh,
even. I'm not sure if he's still on the roster, but Wimsatt was like he was actually ranked in like the top 125, and Rutgers actually like got him to enroll a year early. He kind of did the same thing that Quinn Ewers did, in terms of like he just quit his senior year of high school football and was like, I'm going to college. See you guys. Like literally 3 weeks into the season's like, peace. I'm signing for my college team. So he's actually sat for a couple of years, but he's a really talented, like I think Nebraska and Michigan, like a bunch of Big Ten teams wanted him, and he actually went to Rutgers. So
Noah Vidral is done. By the way, I didn't
finally,
really.
he's
Yeah, I
finally
was gonna
finished.
say
Holy.
2017 was when he started. 2022 was his final year, and I mean, but anyway, I mean, it's just crazy. Like you see all these transfers, Hausman, playing well and things like that, and it makes you wonder what could have been. But I wonder if we'll see any Hausman today.
Oh, well, definitely. Yeah, definitely. We'll see Houshman today for sure. He's played quite a bit. Michigan they're so talented. Like people have been like Jim Harbaugh said before the season, he could see 20 guys getting drafted, like breaking Georgia's record. And it's not hyperbole. Like the Senior Bowl scout people have like talked about there's Michigan literally has like 7 offensive linemen on the Senior Bowl watch list, like guys that don't even start. So they are so incredibly deep. And part of it, I mean, their strength program is elite. I know that there was a feature story this week on the Michigan strength coach Ben Herbert. He's as good as anybody, and there's been obviously Michigan has a lot of NFL scouts there. Well, there was a comment made by one scout that was revealed by Michigan's player personnel that basically said like the guys on Michigan's roster, like their bodies look better than the NFL team's roster, that NFL team's roster, just because of the way that Michigan does things from a strength perspective. And so, I think Nebraska fans are going to see that, like the talent difference, the talent gap between Michigan and Nebraska, like it is real. There is a real difference, and that's just, I mean, that's year 9 or whatever Jim Harbaugh's in compared to year 1 for Matt Rule. So like it's going to be closer, and they've already shrunk that gap down. Like make no mistake about it.
Right.
But
100%.
and that's not saying like the best team, like the 1980 like Russian hockey team was that much better than the Americans, and they still won the game. The Americans won the game, so upsets happen. But it is kind of a David versus Goliath in some ways, with the talent gap between these two teams today.
As long as they keep it close and make it what I call an enjoyable football game, I think this will be big for Nebraska and a chance to show the fans and all the recruits there what they're building, what their future is, and what it's going to look like. And this, we said back in November last year, that this rebuild wouldn't take long, and the right coach could have a chance to get Nebraska back into the thick of things. And I think generally speaking, we're a lot closer than we were to being successful than at this point last year.
100%. I think you can see it with, just look at some of the big guys. Like how much better is Ty Robinson playing
Very
under
good.
this staff? Nash,
Yeah.
Hutchmaker. I mean, Bryce Bennett, I think, has played a lot better. Ben Scott obviously wasn't here, but has been a huge addition.
Omar Brown.
Omar Brown. Like, oh my goodness, he's probably the most improved player. I mean, outside of Nash, maybe. But Omar Brown is right there. I mean, he has really played just at such a much higher
Deshaun
level.
Singleton as well.
Yeah,
I mean,
Singleton, Gray Boar. I mean, there's just so many guys. The Bullocks on both
Right.
sides of the ball. Yeah,
Kevin
right.
Wright. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's and these guys were all, not all of them. Some of them were walk-ons, but a lot of these guys were fairly high. I mean, Nebraska's still, like, if you look at all the blue chips in all of college football right now, which is a 4-star, most of the time they're ranked by like the composite ranking. So if you're a 4-star or higher in the composite, you're a blue chip. Nebraska still has like the 26th most. So just based on that talent alone, like this is a top 25 program. So you're starting to see some of that under Matt Rule. And also, speaking of strength wise, I think Corey Campbell has made a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Just even though he hasn't even been here a calendar year, Nebraska is like much stronger. Look at the tackling and how much it's not just part of it's an attitude, but the physicality of it and the athleticism. Like these guys are flying to the football and they're getting there. They're bigger, they're stronger, they're faster. And so they are making those steps like in a big way. Like I think we have seen that transformation in year 1 under Matt Rule. Now we'll see how many more wins it's going to lead to. And look, the schedule was really tough too. Like let's not, at Minnesota, I know they lost to Northwestern, but still it wasn't an easy way to get going.
Yeah. And, I think, the schedule, I'm not going to say it gets easier, but I do feel like there's a little bit of a break. I mean, the Big Ten West, in my opinion, is wide open. And, I do think that there is a marked improvement. You can see it with the strength and conditioning. In the game, not last weekend, but 2 weeks ago, I thought there was, a noticeable amount of energy in the fourth quarter, and a noticeable type of resilience and ability to execute that we hadn't seen in previous teams.
So yeah, Jason says our own line is gonna, make or break us basically, in terms of our upset chances. And I 100% agree. I mean, I think the defensive line too, but I have confidence in those guys. I don't think that Blake Corum's gonna have 100 yards rushing. I think Michigan's gonna end up with like 150 or so. I'm hoping less, but I think McCarthy's going to have to tuck it and run a few times today, on that kind of some of those zone plays, because this Nebraska defense, I think, is much better than like the Rutgers team that Michigan faced last week. I don't think Michigan's faced a front like that. And I don't think they've seen, frankly, like a nose tackle outside of their guys that they face every week in practice, obviously. But I don't think they've seen an opposing team with a guy like Nash, Hutchmaker yet this year, because Michigan, they've only played, East Carolina, UNLV, Bowling Green, and Rutgers. So they have not been tested. This is their first road game of the year. And so they've been in this environment. I think they're excited about it, but it is going to be interesting to see how they handle that. And it is a lot of pressure, being the number 2 team in the country, and having all that, national title expectations and all that. Whereas Nebraska, they literally have no expectation today. They're supposed to get beat, and all that. So it's kind of fun. And then when you see that, the momentum shift and you can see the pressure weighing on the other team, like that's why we love college football, right? Because any given Saturday, crazy things happen. So I'm hoping that Nebraska just gets this thing to the fourth quarter, and then anything, you just never know what will happen.
And I just got a notification on my phone from Mike Schaefer, and it's a highlight of Carter Nelson ripping the ball out of a player's hands on the defensive side of the football and then taking it 75 yards to the house.
Nice.
So we need Carter Nelson here as soon as possible, and I think we got something special here with this 2024 class. Just keep the positive momentum going, keep the wins coming, and show players that there's a reason that they want to be here. And I think a good first chance is starts today.
It's man, I wish I was going to be at Lincoln Memorial Stadium today. That would be such a. I know it's going to be rocking there today. Someday we got to have this show live from like outside Lincoln.
We need
One
an
one
office. We need an
one.
office in
Yeah.
Lincoln.
One day we're gonna make that happen. Once we get a little bit bigger, we'll be like on site game day location. We'll get one of those buses like the Compton, like the busing boys, and we'll
Yeah,
just bus
that's a
around.
that's a great
We'll have
podcast, by
we'll
the way.
have breakfast. Yeah, it is a great podcast. It's gonna be a good one today too. Especially, I think they're probably having like a pregame show and stuff. They even made the Michigan Nebraska like rivalry trophy between Taylor Lewan and Compton. I think they got like
Well, I know Portnoy's there
the
too, Dave
yeah,
Portnoy. So
yeah,
everybody's there because Portnoy is a Michigan alumnus. So
yeah. He's got a. I was seeing him doing the because he's like does like some type of food review or something. They're like,
yeah,
you
yep.
gotta go to Runza, man. You gotta go to Runza. Come on. Run
And
Runza's the shit.
it's so cool, honestly, from my perspective, seeing a Boston guy totally dominate. And people have their opinions on Portnoy, and I don't agree with all the stuff he does, but there's no denying he's a damn good businessman.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't agree with everything he does, but no, I love the guy, and he's funny from last year, with the Michigan Ohio State game. Like he posted it was like his video with Ohio State because one of the people well, I don't watch the show or anything, but yeah, it's funny, and it's like I'm not a huge Pat McAfee fan. You say that a few times fast, but look, he's funny. All right, he's funny. And I like some of the, it's just that's not my, brand. I'm just not a huge, I don't know. I just get kind of over that stuff. I'm more into like the game analysis. But man, if you haven't seen like, I can't remember the guy's name, but his basically it was like him impersonating Lou Holtz as like the response to
Yeah.
Ryan Day. Like he put on like a Lou Holtz mask and he's like, I'm 86 years old, but I'll still open a can on your like. It's hilarious. Like you got to watch it. I mean, that was because it's like I understand what Ryan Day was doing, and yeah, like he was talking to his players, and so I mean, I think the players, even though he looked like a total jackass, like they probably appreciated it. You know what I'm saying? Like
And
so,
honestly, Lou Holtz is kind of annoying. I don't know. Like I
totally,
like
Lou Holtz is totally annoying,
so
and
I
and he
get both
he
sides of
shouldn't
it.
have said what he yeah, and Lou Holtz shouldn't have said what he said. Like obviously, but it's just, I just think that the way that Ryan Day went about it is, and then Michigan fans are making fun of him. But my thing is like, okay, don't. Michigan fans are getting overconfident. I'll say that right now. And it's like it's totally the Mark D'Antonio thing of like pride comes before the fall. Like that's totally true. And it was funny because when Jim Harbaugh, signed his contract after the 2-4 season, like I had Ohio State fans from my Michigan site like reposting it and being like celebrating his extension, and I was just like, I even said that to one of them. I retweeted it. It was like pride comes before the fall. So it's just when you act like that, when you get crazy, like the universe, the football gods will check you at some point. So Michigan fans, you better calm down because you're going the way of the Ohio State fans, and you're about to at some point, like the bottom will fall out. It will happen. So just saying,
Maybe it starts today.
maybe
Maybe
it
it
might.
starts today. I
It has to start at some point. I mean, the Matt Rule era, like the true, like the big win, like Bo Pelini's big win was that Colorado game. When Alex Henry made the field goal and Sue got the touchdown, like that was like, all right, this guy, we're going to be okay. And maybe that happens today. I don't know, but at some point, Matt Rule, we're going to end that losing streak against top 25 teams, and I would love for it to happen today.
So, what do you think the score prediction is going to be? What's your
Score prediction? Okay, I do think Nebraska is going to make this a tough game, but I just don't see them having the horses to win it. I'm going to say Michigan 24-13. I think it's close in the four. I think it's a two-score game pretty much throughout, but I do think that Michigan kind of gets an early touchdown, gets the lead early. I think Nebraska battles throughout, but I think Michigan leads throughout and wins it 24-13 in a game that even there, I think is a little closer than the score indicates. So take the Huskers with the points, but Michigan wins outright.
I was going to say 28-17 Michigan. I don't think it's going to be like a 56-10 blowout, but I do think Michigan has the upper hand, and that's not a shot at Nebraska. I mean, they're rebuilding. They still have a little bit of time to go and ways to go in order to make this a really competitive program with the likes of Michigan again. But I do think this game will be fun. I don't think it'll be boring, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see how rocking the stadium is today.
And I think if you look back at say like the last two games, right? 2 years ago, it was a really close competitive game. Last year, it was not. It was kind of an embarrassment. We didn't really look like we belonged on the field. That our defense played well, but I think this game is going
Yeah.
to be much closer to the 2021 version. And I think when this game is over, I think people are going to like third party observers. I'm not saying the Nebraska fans, obviously, like we don't want moral victories, blah, blah, blah. But I think people are going to look at this thing and be like, yeah, Matt Rule, he's going to get this thing going at Nebraska. This Nebraska team is on the right path. And I know that that's frustrating. We want to see like wins, but I do think that we're going to be proud of this Nebraska team when this game's over. It might not be a victory because Michigan is really damn good, and Nebraska's going to have to get some bounces to go our way, which frankly, we haven't had a lot of that happen over
No.
the years. So we'll see, but I think it's going to be a fun game, and I that's going to about wrap it up for the pregame chat here. You guys make sure you subscribe, so you don't miss any of our chats. We're going to have a post-game chat some point, either probably it will be tonight, maybe tomorrow morning. We'll see how that goes, but make sure that you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, the comment section. It really does help us out, and it helps us reach more Nebraska fans, and that's really what we're trying to do is just build a community of hardcore Husker fans that we can hang out with and interact with all the time. So
Thank you to all who joined today as well.
Yep. Thanks for everybody. Now go pregame the right way for this game, and let's get Lincoln Memorial Stadium lit today, folks. So at any rate, make sure you're checking out HuskerBigRed.com. We'll have a bunch of pregame updates and stuff, pre and post game stuff. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. You can see all of that in YouTube there. So thanks again, everybody, for hanging out, and as always, go Big Red.
Go Big Red.